Hey, how's it going? I'm SiggyX. I'm one of the tournament organizers at both Genesis 4 and Showdown GG. With Genesis coming up, we've been getting a lot of interest in advanced tech and how to execute it. So there are six techniques that make up advanced play in TowerFall. They are the hyperdash and hyperjump will make up your mobility options. For your offensive options, you have the stagger shot and double tap. And for defensive, you have the dodge stall and the miracle grab. Okay, let's get some basics out of the way real quick. First of all, you're going to want to use your bumpers instead of your triggers. If you're using a PlayStation controller, you want to use your R1 and L1 as opposed to R2 and L2. You're generally going to have a faster reaction time for catching arrows, and it takes about 2 weeks to get used to. To stick it out, it's very much worth it. On the other side, a slide is basically holding down on the ground and doing a dodge. It's a little bit faster than doing a normal dodge, and it goes a little bit farther. Okay, let's start with the hyperdash, since it's the basis of the hyper jump and the miracle grab as well. So basically what the hyperdash is a one-frame dodge cancel. You need to be very careful with this, because once you cancel a dodge, you can no longer catch arrows. So there are two ways to cancel a dodge. You can either jump while you're on the ground, looks like this, right? And that's going to be a super jump, gets you about 12 tiles. It's kind of useful, but it's kind of slow as well. The second way is to press dodge again. So if you press the same dodge button, this is known as a tap cancel. And tap cancels aren't very fast. The reason is because it's basically impossible to get anything faster than like maybe 20 frames for for a single button. The trick is to piano across two different buttons. So it's very quick, something like that. And in game, if done correctly, looks something like this. And this is going to be your main mobility skill in the air. You can do it in any direction. If you have a pair of wings, you can flap first and then use a hyperdash, and that is known as a hyper flap. Timing on it is very, very tight. And then also, if you hyperdash down, it is slightly faster than than fast falling. So next up is going to be the hyper jump. So the hyper jump adds a slide to the hyperdash. And the reason you want to do a slide, so a normal dash, it goes about 3 tiles, whereas a slide you go almost 5 tiles. So basically, it's faster. So the way dodge canceling works in this game is you keep the momentum of whenever you cancel a dodge. So by having a faster start speed, you have a faster end speed. So a slide, just again holding diagonally down and forward, and then doing the hyper dash. An added benefit of the hyper dash is that you have a stored jump after you leave a surface. So 10 frames after you leave a surface, you can do a jump, which allows you to get some kind of weird angles. Again, timing on this super tight. Be very careful. You can very easily kill yourself. Alright, now that we have our mobility options out of the way, we can move on to our offensive options and defensive options. They're going to be your dodge stall, stagger shot, miracle grab, and double tap. And since they have a rock, paper, scissors like relationship, we're going to go through them in that order. So dodge stalling is the easiest of the 4 to learn, because literally all it is holding down the dodge button, and you'll gain an extra 5 frames of catching animation. You do not want to use this most of the time. It is very risky. It's all a matter of timing. It's going to be a last resort move. You'll know you've done it correctly if you get that sound. So this stagger shot's pretty simple in theory, but it can be a bit difficult in practice. So a dodge normally lasts 20 frames and has a cooldown of 25. And when you catch an arrow normally, you get put in a little bit of hit stun. So the idea behind a stagger shot is you want to shoot your second arrow about a third of a second after you've shot your first one. So it should, if I, there you go, that would be considered a perfect stagger. And here it is again in slow motion. See, I did not have any chance to dodge out of that second arrow. So one of the best counters for the stagger shot is the miracle grab. Basically what a miracle grab is a dodge cancel after you've caught an arrow. So it's probably the most technically difficult skills in the game. You have about a 5-frame window between the time you start a dodge, catch the arrow, and cancel your dodge. If you do it correctly, it should look something like that. And here it is again with a stagger shot. Alright, lastly we have the double tap. So the double tap was recently discovered by K. Pulv, and the way it works is since X is your primary fire and B is your secondary fire, you want to slide your thumb from X to B, like so. And what it'll do is it will fire 2 arrows in a very quick fashion. Its primary use is to counter a single shot, so the first arrow will tink and the second arrow will keep going. It can also be used to counter a miracle grab if you correctly predict that, but if you predict wrong, it's basically giving your opponent 2 arrows, since it's very easy to catch both of them, and that can end up being very risky. So that's going to be it for the advanced tech tutorial. If you're looking for some extra practice, I've put the link for this custom tower in the description. Also, I highly recommend trying the campaign, as it is very good practice for retrieving your arrows and hyper dash boops as well. If you're having some trouble with the with hyper dash timing, I highly recommend going to the Trials mode in Twilight Spire 2. This is how I started practicing it. If you time your hyper dash correctly, you should be able to hit all 3 orbs pretty consistently. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on the TowerFall Discord. Again, I put the link in the description. And yeah, I'm SiggyX, and yeah, I'll see you guys later.